right, gentlemen, and most likely more gentlemen, we should be live. We'll get this live stream started in about 3 minutes here when it comes to the draft, at least. Looks like we got 11 out of 12 teams filled up in the mock today. This should be good. I'm very excited. Let's go ahead and get the chat pulled up real quick here. It has been a couple weeks since we've last did a mock draft live stream. So I'm sure you guys have probably drafted quite a few teams already, so I'll be very excited to hear about those. Looks like the stream is up, so we should be good to go here. We'll give people just a couple minutes to get in the draft, make sure we have as many people as possible. Obviously it's a mock draft, so it's going to be pretty laid back, but dang, before I could even say anything in the chat, we already got people here. Drew's here, TJ's here, T-Flow's here, the Real Brand Merchant's here. What's going on, guys? Good to see you. Appreciate all you guys coming in and watching right away here at 7. Fantasy football is back. Holy smokes, we finally made it. Not quite yet, but I am literally like a fiend just itching for fantasy football to start. We'll give it like 2 more minutes here, guys, and then we'll go ahead and start the draft. Obviously, we are... Shoot, can I draft 2 teams? If you got 2 accounts, you go right ahead and draft 2 teams, my man. Yes, I am wearing the Harrison Smith jersey. The Vikings, I just want to put it out there. The Vikings did go 3-0 in the preseason. That is probably going to match our regular season win total for this year as a 3-14 team. Sam Darnold is going to carry us to 3 wins. So anyways, I'm just going to live on my high while I got it, and the Vikings have won their last 3 football games. So I just want to put that out there. Let me know how much do you guys take into consideration the preseason. I would love to get your guys' input on that, because I personally... From like a snap count standpoint, I'll take into a lot of consideration like who's playing with the starting lineup, who's playing with the first group of guys. But after that, I really don't take into consideration like efficiency and effectiveness and everything like that, because I think it's not at all the same and the game scripts are different and just the whole mentality going into preseason games is not anything near what regular season games look like. New Orleans Saints or Arizona Cardinals, which team is more likely to make the playoffs? By the way, one of my league mates in a podcast league, and this league is dissing me, they must see me as a threat. Well, while you guys are here, I'm going to give you a quick sneak peek since you are 10 of the guys watching this live stream right now. One of my next posts is going to be my predictions for the 2024 NFL season and playoff predictions. So, to answer your question, as far as Cardinals or Saints, I definitely think the Cardinals are going to be a little bit better. Saints I got at 6-11 as a projection. Cardinals I got at 7-10. But there's going to be some interesting stuff to note here in those projections, that's for sure. Let's go ahead and get this mock started. Looks like we got everyone but 1 or 2 here. We are rocking. Here we go. I'm going to try my best to commentate the best that I can obviously it's going to be tough while drafting. Breece Hall is the first guy off the board. Holy smokes. For me, it's for mid-round guys that are fighting for possible first-team roles. Yes, I can agree with that. We got 9 guys in the chat. Let's go ahead and get 9 likes on this video right off the bat here. We are running back heavy today. Holy smokes, you guys. Also, I have just a slight feeling, considering that all of the guys in this draft pretty much are my followers and subscribers, that I might get like 0 of the guys that I want to actually draft. And I think that could be a bit chaotic and might put me with a team that I've never seen before. So we are definitely going to see how this goes. It's going to be an interesting experiment, that's for sure. TJ Chamberlain on the clock. Just did a podcast with TJ Chamberlain over on the Last Word podcast on Spotify. So if you guys listen to fantasy podcasts on Spotify, you can catch a pod between us two chopping it up, talking fantasy football. Okay, you guys, this is crazy. I can't say I've ever been in this situation in my entire life. So when in doubt, I'm probably going to end up with Jahmyr Gibbs here. I've never had a situation where my 3 running backs are off the board and A.J. Brown is off the board. Let's go ahead and take Jahmyr Gibbs, even though he's not healthy. That was a panic pick, but I would have almost always gone one of these 2 running backs that went off the board in the first 2 picks or A.J. Brown. But as you would see in this pod I did with TJ, I'm not going to get any of my guys, and I just stated that right before this draft started. So that's where we're at. I mean, I'll take CMC at 4. Yeah, probably a good pick. Draft Jefferson, Gage, no balls. I am not drafting Jefferson. Absolutely am not drafting Jefferson. If I got Jefferson in the middle of the 2nd round, I don't think I'd draft him. And that's not an exaggeration at all. You know what I should have done is I should have given myself an end pick, like end of a round pick, so that way I could have more time to talk versus just being crammed right in the middle of every single round. So that wasn't very good preparation on my end, but all right, probably looking wide receiver here. Josh Allen is off the board. I am on the clock. I am definitely going to go with Puka Nacua here. Chris Olave at the 110. This just shows what the heck is going on here. My most drafted player in fantasy football getting drafted probably a round earlier than normal. No shocker there. I already drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, who's likely going to be dealing with an injury, so why not double up on Puka Nacua? Obviously, I wouldn't do this in a regular draft, but I also wouldn't be commentating and live streaming during a regular draft. So what can you do? We're battling. What do you guys think of the preseason? Have you guys had other drafts to this point? Let's hear it. I'd love to talk about it. We got 16 rounds here tonight. Probably won't get to grading every team unless you guys want to hear my thoughts. Wanted this one to just be a little bit more casual. Thoughts on Jordan Love? I personally think he's more of a real-life guy than fantasy because of the lack of high-end weaponry. I can see it. I mean, I think he's a great talent. I think the contract extension was crazy from just a volume or management standpoint. But, I mean, I think he's a legit top-tier elite talent at the quarterback position, and I think it goes to show how valuable drafting backup quarterbacks behind Hall of Fame quarterbacks can be. And I know, myself included, at the time was calling the Packers completely stupid for wasting a pick on a quarterback, and now they're laughing at us and laughing right in my face. So I think he's solid. I think from fantasy perspective, he just lacks that rushing upside, and that's going to be the difference maker for me when it comes to spending a mid-round pick on a quarterback. I usually either go for an elite quarterback like Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts kind of in the 4th round if they fall to me, or I just punt the position altogether. And I don't really find myself in that mid-tier of quarterbacks drafting a guy without rushing upside who also doesn't have an elite receiver that I'm trying to stack on my roster, you know. The only mid-round quarterback I kind of find myself potentially taking is Dak Prescott right after I would potentially take Jake Ferguson at my tight end position. Other than that, like if Jaden Daniels falls to me at like the 9th or 10th round when I've drafted Terry McLaurin, who's one of my most drafted players, I go for him. Maybe if I drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. in the 2nd round, I would look to Kyler Murray. But other than that, I'm just punting quarterback if I don't get one of those elite quarterbacks right away. All right. Looking through here. Pacheco at the 2.8, I love to TJ, of course. Evans at the 2.10, that's a little early. That guy's Hunter's going 0 running back strategy. Interesting. Rachaad White at the 2.11 obviously went way earlier than normal, but I do love him, so solid pick. Malik Neighbors at the 3.4. James Cook gets picked right before me. Big shocker there. All right, I'm probably going to go another running back here. I think we have clearly established that I absolutely hate all the wide receivers in this range. We've also clearly established that all of my guys are going to get taken. And we've also clearly established that I am just going ultra risky in this draft. So what the heck? We're going to draft Devon Achane right here at the 3.7. But I just want to establish something real quick. Look at this run of wide receivers here on the board. Brandon Ayuk, Nico Collins, who just got taken, Deebo Samuel, Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp, and Devonta Smith right down here, and Tank Dell right after Zay Flowers. These guys are all 2nd, 3rd, or potentially even 4th options on their offense, getting drafted in the 3rd round. That is outrageous. Never, ever, ever, ever take these guys in your 2nd, 3rd, or 4th round. It will be ridiculous. Your team will be brutal, I promise you. These are the problems with guys like Waddle getting taken in the 2nd round or Higgins getting taken in the 2nd round. We got TJ Watt with the 4 wide receivers to start this draft. Holy smokes. Gotta respect it for the mock draft. What can I say? I am on the clock. Well. Shall we continue with the trend of doing things that I've never done before? Don't love the wide receivers in this range, as I just stated. I think we got one final elite quarterback on the board who, in my opinion, in the 4th round, when there's not really any guys that I also love in this range, let's go ahead and get Patrick Mahomes. All right, let's look at the chat real quick. Did my homework, man. It's worked so far. Yeah, no kidding. Obviously, you've done your homework because you're taking all my guys. I feel the similar with Bo Nix. I have him currently as Offensive Rookie of the Year candidate, but not sure how fantasy relevant he'll be. I think from a rushing upside standpoint, he could be great. Pretty much he should just have free reign to do whatever the heck he wants in that Broncos offense, given how brutal they're going to be. It's just kind of a play with everything you got, and you got nothing to lose situation there. So I think he could be good. He's clearly exceeded expectations right off the bat in the preseason. So I think he could be fantasy relevant. I absolutely do. I had to choose between QB and Neighbors. Need to establish my wideouts first. Yep, I respect it. I do think Neighbors is a risky option as your wide receiver 1, but I do think he has as much upside, if not more upside, than anyone going in this tier. Like, I'd much rather have Neighbors than Collins, Ayuk, Dell, Metcalf, Samuel, all of those guys who are just going to have so much target dilution at the wide receiver position. All right, up to 5 likes on the stream. There we go. Not bad, not bad. So I got to be looking either running back or for sure wide receiver here, I think is the obvious situation that we're in. Tight end, of course, TJ took Kincaid in the 4th, which I think is really crazy and a bit early. But when you're in a mock playing against your buds, then you do things to piss people off. And he's doing a good job, so I respect it.
Oh, come on, dude.
Let's go ahead and throw... I'm going to make a post about this in the next few days, so I want to get it out there right now to you guys early on. And I want to tell you some of my hot takes for the 2024 fantasy football season. Flowers and Pickens are gone. What the heck am I going to do now, you guys? Tell me. Tell me right now who the heck I'm supposed to take with Flowers and Pickens gone. Do I go another running back? McConkey's gone in the 5th round. Yeah. Never, ever. You guys are the worst. You guys are the worst. I don't like these wide receiver 2s. Pittman, I'm not as high on this year. I'm going to go with old, reliable, steady, solid. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to stack my quarterback with the legal weapon himself, Rashee Rice, wide receiver 1 on the Chiefs. A stack that I haven't done a single time this year, but it's a mock, and I haven't taken any of these guys this whole year, so why the heck wouldn't I do it now? Let's keep the trend going. I feel like Dalton Kincaid could honestly have tight end 1 overall upside. With Josh Allen, absolutely, dude. Absolutely. He could be the tight end 1 overall, and he is my tight end 1 overall. TJ Watt, bro. You got 5 receivers. 5 receivers. You got 2 bench spots taken up already. Take another one. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Rome Odunze is gone. I'm on the clock. Running backs that I like are all a little bit later on. I think at this price, I would be willing to take DJ Moore as my wide receiver 3. A guy that I'm not very high on. Same with T. Higgins, but you guys are outrageously letting people fall. We got DJ Moore going after Rome Odunze. We got Keenan Allen going after Rome Odunze. In the 6th round, not the 3rd round, like he sometimes goes, I will take DJ Moore. I'll do it. And I would only do it assuming guys like Keon Coleman, who I'm higher on, would naturally fall to me. But of course, with you guys, he will get taken 1 pick after me. 6 receivers and 6 picks is crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Also, truthfully though, like this draft just makes me happy. Like genuinely makes me happy seeing all of the guys that I talk about and preach going so early, just showing how much you guys believe. 1, in the guys that I'm talking about, but 2, somewhat believe in me, too, to go out of my way and recommend some absolutely bonkers guys at bonkers ADPs. But just looking through, let's just talk about all the wild picks that I agree with. Olave at the 110. Pacheco at the 2.8. Evans at the 2.10. White at the 2.11. Neighbors at the 3.4. Cook at the 3.5. Kamara at the 3.12. Zamir White. I didn't even see Zamir White got taken. Holy smokes. At the 4.4. This is what I'm talking about, you guys. Kincaid at the 4.8. McLaurin at the 4.11. Flowers 5.4. Pickens 5.5. McConkey 5.6. Coleman 6.7. Spears 6.8. Like, you're never going to see these guys get taken in this range. And these are all the guys that I'm a big fan of. And so I respect it for you guys going out of your way to take the guys that we love. This is good to see you guys. Nah, it's the strat. I'm assuming this is our TJ Watt fan in the chat here. I am genuinely excited to see how you are going to handle this team. I can't wait to see the finished product. Rachaad White in the 2nd round. Keep me away. I don't know, man. I don't know about that. So we got 2 extremely explosive guys at the running back position. Whether or not they'll be able to hold up, we will see. I'm going to go ahead and go out of my way and get one of my guys that probably wouldn't fall to me knowing the trend of this draft, and that is Jake Ferguson. So I did get one of my 2 most drafted tight ends. So that's one guy that I have normal on this team compared to other teams. So I'll take that. I want to hear that Rachaad White slander. What do you got against Rachaad White? Please let me know. How many more wide receivers do we think he's going to take? Let's take a guess in the chat right now. He's at 6. Do we think he goes 8? Do we think he takes another, at least one in these next 2 picks? I am genuinely curious. Let's throw some of my hot takes out there. I would love to hear what you guys think of these hot takes. Number 1. Oh, we got wide receiver number 7. Number 1, Caleb Williams finishes as a top 5 fantasy football wide receiver, or quarterback, excuse me. 8. I'm already on the clock, you guys. Holy smokes, we are absolutely cooking here. Given that I only have 2 running backs, I'm going to get a safe, solid, and steady workhorse who's going to get all the work, and that is Devin Singletary on the New York Giants. I cannot believe this guy just took 8 wide receivers to start a draft. What in the underdog fantasy best ball am I looking at right now? All right, Caleb Williams, top 5 fantasy quarterback. Hot take number 2. You guys can write these down and quote me on this because I believe in every single one of them. Anthony Richardson and Joe Burrow both finish outside the top 10. I'm going to keep reading these slowly because I want you guys to respond to every single one. Let me know what you think. Number 3, Isaiah Pacheco, Rachaad White, and James Cook all finish near or inside the top 8 running backs, which correlates to this one. Number 4, Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry finish outside the top 12 quarterbacks. Wow, I cannot talk. Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry finish outside the top 12 running backs. Excuse me. That wouldn't be too hot of a take if I said they finished outside the top 12 quarterbacks. Number 5, Tajay Spears, Zeke Elliott, and Devin Singletary. Those 3 guys all finish inside the top 24 running backs. There's 5 hot takes for you right there. Bam. Let me hear it in the comments. How crazy am I? What are the realistic expectations of Davante Adams if he reunites with Aaron Rodgers on the Jets? I think neither of them are going to be superior to the other. I think Garrett Wilson is a better wide receiver this day and age, but I don't think that Rodgers would give Wilson the ball over Davante Adams. I just don't. I don't see it. Hunter, I actually didn't even notice that. All right, I'm 2 picks away here, so I got to lock in. Quarterback, I'm good. Running back, I could probably take someone. Wide receiver. Okay, so this is going to be the draft of values. That's what this draft is going to be. It's going to be the draft of values. I know I already took DJ Moore because I felt it was valued the 6th round. But Keenan Allen should never fall to the 9-7. I understand he's not inside my top 20 wide receivers. I understand that I'm not high on him. But he's going at like ADP 64, you guys. I can get him in the 9th round. This is me. This is like trying to beat myself in a fantasy draft. That's what we're doing here. Everyone put in your guess right now. Will he take 2 more wide receivers? He's currently at 8. He is currently at 8 wide receivers. Gage isn't going to agree with the Chubb pick. I see why not. Yep, you're right. I'm not going to agree with the Chubb pick. That's for dang sure. Bryce Young is a borderline top 10 fantasy QB with Dave Canales. That is a hot take, ladies and gentlemen. That is a hot take. Barkley, top 3 running back behind the Eagles O-line. I don't see it. He's not nearly as good as he was when he was drafted. And he's got Jalen Hurts, the most dominant rushing quarterback on the goal line of all time. Of all time. I will not second guess myself on that statement. Huh? Hold on. We're pausing the draft right now. What am I looking at? Guys, I study fantasy for every spare ounce of my free time, and I have never heard of this guy in my lifetime. This dude just drafted an entire football franchise in the 10th round. He just drafted the Eagles in the 10th round. Wow. I gotta hear it in the chat for that. Zeke Elliott, welcome to the roster, baby. Guys, I've never heard of that dude in my entire life. Not a single time have I heard of that dude. Let's keep the hot takes rolling. You already know this one. My favorite player, Chris Olave, finishes as a top 5 wide receiver. Lock it in. Top 5 wide receiver season. Stefon Diggs. Hot take number 7. Stefon Diggs finishes 15 spots higher at the wide receiver position than Nico Collins and Tank Dell this season. Superior Texans wide receiver. Superior. Hot take number 8. Justin Jefferson finishes outside the top 12. Hot take number 9. McConkey and Coleman both finish inside the top 24 wide receivers. Hot take number 10. All of the quote-unquote elite wide receiver 2s, including Devonta Smith, DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, Nico Collins, T. Higgins, Cooper Kupp, nearly all of them are going inside the top 24. I'm going to tell you that every single one of them will finish outside of the top 24 wide receivers this season. Lock it in. They're not called hot takes for no reason, baby. Do me a favor, if you are watching this and are not currently subscribed, please subscribe. Please click the like button. Let me just be every annoying YouTuber real quick. You know what? I'll keep the stream up as long as the chat is rolling and we're having good conversation. Guys, I have no freaking clue who I'm going to take right now. Absolutely no clue. Oh, I think I do know who I'm going to take, actually. Yeah, so we're gonna take a guy that I think is a sneaky pick that I haven't really talked about, but we're gonna go ahead and take Chuba Hubbard, who's going to be the lead workhorse running back for the Panthers the first 4+ weeks of the season. I think it's a sneaky good pick. Could win you a lot of weeks early on in your seasons. Would you go Hall or Lamb at 1 PPR Dynasty Draft? Ooh. Well, I would go Breece Hall over CeeDee Lamb, given the fact that we're pretty sure Breece is locked and loaded on that offense for the future. CeeDee Lamb might not be locked and loaded on the Cowboys offense for more than a couple days for all we know. And who's to say that CeeDee Lamb's situation elsewhere would be anywhere near as good as it is on the Cowboys right now, because he is truly in a perfect situation right now.
Let's go, team! Let's go!
Oh, guys. I'll keep getting to more of your questions here as we go. I'm currently on the clock. I'm going to go ahead and take a shot on the rookie, Adonai Mitchell here. Do you guys think Lamb? Do you guys think Chase? Do you think one of them are going to hold out into the regular season? I would love to hear your thoughts on that because I'm just kind of a fantasy nerd. I obviously watch like every single NFL game, but I don't know whether or not one or both of them are going to hold out or not. What three teams that made the playoffs last year What are three teams that made the playoffs last year that you don't see making it back, and three NFL teams you replace them with? Ooh, good question. Well, let me go look at this real quick because I've started looking at my playoffs. Number one, the Bengals, I think, will likely make it back. Another hot take of mine is that they won't make it. I think they're going to be right on the fringe. I don't think the Steelers made the playoffs. I could be wrong. They're going to be right on the border. But I think that the Cowboys could truthfully be in consideration to not make the playoffs if CeeDee Lamb holds out especially. I think the Falcons will be a surprising team in the playoffs this year. Let me think. I feel like the Dolphins at some point here are going to break through. I really do. The Browns aren't going to make the playoffs again. Deshaun Watson is not good. Who else made the playoffs? Who am I missing here? I don't know who else I'm missing, but I think if there are any injuries at all to any of the Bengals stars, they will not make the playoffs. And I don't think that's a crazy take by any means. Okay, we got a couple rounds left here. Probably pick up a backup tight end and a backup quarterback with two of these picks. Fantasy tip. If you're drafting on Sleeper, this differentiates from ESPN. But if you ever have the option, do not draft a kicker or defense until the final two rounds at most. And when I say at most, I mean if you have the choice to not draft a kicker or defense, then don't draft them. Don't draft them if you have the choice. If you are like me, you're going to be streaming defenses all year long, playing matchups. If you're ever playing against the Minnesota Vikings, you're going to start whatever defense is playing against the Minnesota Vikings. When Sam Darnold throws 1 pick six per week, the Vikings offensive line gives up 5 sacks per week. He'll probably run into the back of the end zone and get a safety once per week. You're going to stream whichever team's playing the Minnesota Vikings. And kicker, you do not waste a draft pick on a kicker. I don't care if it's Justin Tucker. You can get kickers on elite offenses that are going to put up 10, 12, 15 points sporadically without drafting them or in the last round of your drafts. In normal drafts where I'm not facing 11 of my subscribers who know every single guy that I love and know every single sleeper, you're going to be able to get massive sleeper value. Guys like Jalen Polk in the 14th round, who could be a wide receiver 1 on his offense. Guys like Romeo Doubs, who could be a wide receiver 1 on their offense. That's why you don't take a kicker. Ooh, okay. Where are we at here? Give me Bucky Irving. I will be taking Bucky Irving. Don't worry, we got 2 picks left, you guys, and then I will get through to your guys' questions. Let's take a look in the chat. We got 13 people watching the live stream here. Let's get that live stream to 13 likes. We're currently at 6. Also hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Who would you... Aaron Rodgers finishes ahead of Brock Purdy for fantasy. I could see it. I'm not going to go out of my way and draft Aaron Rodgers by no means, given all of the red flags. And I don't think he's as good as he used to be. But I just think, I think it's impossible for Purdy to finish below the quarterback 18 on a top 3 offense in football. Like, McCaffrey would need to have like 30 touchdowns for Purdy to not be a safe fantasy quarterback. And I don't see that happening. Tank Dell will outscore Nico Collins. That absolutely can happen. I think Tank Dell's a better football player than Nico Collins. I don't think people understand that Nico Collins was literally a nobody until halfway through the year last year. And when I say a nobody, I mean people did not even know that he was a football player. People who studied fantasy didn't know he was a football player. He was going undrafted. We went out of our way last season to say draft Tank Dell, draft Rashee Rice, and those guys are suddenly going in the 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds of your drafts this year. Nico Collins is not an amazing wide receiver. I think he's the 3rd best wide receiver on the Texans. I think he's going to finish probably as the number 2 option behind Tank Dell just because he's a bit bigger body. I think he'll be used around the red zone a little bit more. But when it comes to just strictly wide receiver talent, I don't think that he's a better football player than Tank Dell. I don't. If he were a better football player than Tank Dell, then he would have shown us something in his first year and a half of his career prior to the second half of last season when Tank Dell got injured and he was literally the only guy on the field for C.J. Stroud to throw the ball to. It's Baker time, boys. It is Baker time. Let's go ahead and look backup tight end in the last round here. Snipe me if you want on my backup tight end. I don't care. Mike Evans goes under 1,000 yards for the first time in his career. Baker Mayfield regresses in a big way. Bro, if I would have read that, then I wouldn't have just taken him. I disagree. I disagree with the second part. I think Mike Evans could absolutely go below 1,000 yards. But I don't see Baker regressing in any particular way. They still got the same exact weapons. I think it's a good home, a good situation for Baker. I don't mind him. I don't mind him or the Bucs this year. I think they could absolutely be a threat to make the playoffs this year yet again. That's another team from before. I don't think they're probably going to make the playoffs. We just had Adam Vinatieri get taken, ladies and gentlemen. Holy smokes, this is fantastic. Fun fact about me. I have gone out to dinner with Adam Vinatieri and wore his Super Bowl ring when I was in elementary school. That thing was probably like a bracelet on me at that point, but it was really cool. One of the highlights of a young football fan's life. I think Luke Musgrave could be good. I think Mike Gesicki could be good. I think Jonnu Smith could be good. Chig could be good. Let's go ahead and I think Musgrave will be good. I think the Packers are going to be an elite enough offense to give Musgrave enough red zone looks. Volume won't be the play with him, but scoring and touchdown upside could be a game changer. Could put him inside the top 10 for sure. As a backup tight end, I'll take it. All right, let's keep looking through a few of these. I could also swap my 101 and second pick to get his 103rd and second pick and get Hall at the 103. Yeah, if you get the value there. As long as you think Hall will drop to the 103 in a dynasty draft. I would assume he will, but it's just whether or not you want to risk it. But not a bad option for sure. Hawkinson sniped you. Stream team. That's a good one. I haven't heard that before. My guy's getting sniped. I wanted Luke. I don't want to hear that your guys are getting sniped, Sean. This is literally the story of my life right now. Are you doing reviews or grades? I can look through the teams quick. I can do evaluations. Obviously, we had a couple meme teams here. Team 10 mainly. Team review. All right. We're getting requests on Team 10's review in the chat. Guys, first 10 picks were wide receivers. honestly, respect for getting Algier and Gibson, two guys who are going to be backups but will probably get integrated a little bit, who actually are probably going to score like 5 points a week. That's actually impressive. I have never seen this in my life. I've never seen it in my life. This is crazy. Olave and Harrison is a great start. I just want to put that out there. Metcalf in the third as your wide receiver 3, I think is fine. Dell as your wide receiver 4, I think is fine, even though I don't think that he's going to finish nearly as high as his ADP. And then I don't even know how you grade this at this point. Like Pittman, Odunze, Smith and Jigba. Sutton in the 8th round is great. I hate Jameson Williams. I paused the draft for the Philadelphia Eagles player on the Dallas Cowboys who I've never heard of in my entire life. This is crazy. He took some good guys. I'll give him that. I'm a bit of a drafter. What can I say? I respect it. I'm speechless. I don't know what to say. First team, let's look at Sean. Breece Hall, Drake London, Stephon Diggs, Joe Burrow, Stevenson. Breece is a great start. London at the 212 is fine. Diggs as your wide receiver 2 at the 2-3 turn is good. Burrow, I hate. You heard my hot take. Let's jump on over and give you my final 12 takes. Dalton Kincaid and Jake Ferguson outscore Sam Laporta. Book it. I'm talking to you right now. Kincaid and Ferguson outscore Sam Laporta. And number 12, George Kittle and Mark Andrews both finish outside the top 12. Those are my hot takes. Why Gibbs at the 1.7? It's a good pick, but I think he's in that tier with Reese and Bijan. But what is your specific reasoning? I just want to establish this right now. I would never take Jahmyr Gibbs at the 107 in a normal draft because McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, and Breece Hall would all not be taken, along with A.J. Brown to get taken. I would never take A.J. Brown, or A.J. Brown would never get taken before the 107. He just wouldn't, unless I was drafting against 11 first and goals, which is essentially what I was doing right now. I'm not a big fan of Jefferson. He's the worst pick in the first round, in my opinion. Jamar Chase, I'm not going to draft a guy who's potentially going to have holdout issues. Amon-Ra St. Brown was in consideration. Garrett Wilson was in consideration. And then Olave and Harrison weren't in consideration, just given to the fact that I've never even considered taking them at the 107 because I figured that both of them would typically be able to get to me at the second round pick. And Gibbs is, from a talent standpoint, I think he is the only one that belongs there, while also not being in like a contract situation or something crazy like that. You took Brown since you think Lamb is going to hold out. See, that's okay. And that's, if I were you at the 5th pick, I would respect that. I would absolutely respect that. And I would recommend it too. So, back to the team review here. Sean's got Breece Hall, Stevenson, Moss, and Edwards as his 4 running backs. Hall, obviously, anchoring the team. So solid. Stevenson, I think, could be a reliable running back 2 or running back 3 if you guys can get him at that 5th or 6th round. I think that's a great pick. London and Diggs, I'm not super high on London, but given that he got him at the 2-3 turn, I think that's fine. Diggs, I am high on at the beginning of the 3rd round. Burrow, I absolutely hate, so I think that's a terrible pick. And then just turning around, if you take Burrow, you got to commit to that pick. You can't go ahead and draft another quarterback just 3 rounds later in Jordan Love, because then you're stuck limiting your other positions. When this is a time, instead of taking Jordan Love, you could be taking a guy like Jake Ferguson, who I got in the 7th round, and providing a little bit more value. Because if everything goes according to plan, you should never start Jordan Love. If everything goes according to the way that you want it to, Jordan Love should never be played except for Joe Burrow's bye week. So you took a guy before a flex player or before a tight end who's never, ever, ever going to see the field according to your best case scenario. So that's what limits this team's upside, in my opinion. Polk, I love. Zach Moss, I love later. Very good. Bijan, White, Kelsey, McLaurin, Ridley, Najee. The first 5 picks are guys that I cannot draft enough of. Guys that I cannot get enough of. I think they're all great picks. I think being able to get McLaurin and Ridley as your wide receiver 1 and 2 in the 4th and 5th round, and even these are guys who can go in like the 6th and 7th round, is a lock for a great season when you can get Bijan, Rachaad White, and Travis Kelce early on. Not repping the Travis Kelce jersey tonight. Had to rock the hometown Vikings, baby, but this is a really good team. And then Najee could be good. I mean, he's as safe and steady as it gets. Jaylen Warren could be out for a little bit of time with injury. Brian Thomas Jr., huge upside play. Ford is going to be solid. Chubb is not going to be ready to go. And then 2 safe and steady quarterbacks. Love it. Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, Devontae Adams went wide receiver heavy early on. I love those first 2 picks. Adams, I would never, ever take. I think he's washed. I think it's a volume play. And as your wide receiver 3, that is the only situation where I will accept it. Mixon's an extremely safe and boring wide receiver or running back 1. Not a fan of Aaron Jones. Not a fan of Richardson. The running backs are not good enough for me here. And this is why I don't go 0 RB. Don't love this team. And also, we got comments on Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, Devontae Adams, Joe Mixon, and Aaron Jones jumping down to Raheem Mostert. Might be like the 6 oldest players in this draft. And they're all on this guy's team. Going for the old head team. Hashtag old head team in the chat. There we go. McCaffrey, Etienne, Neighbors, Stroud, Flowers, Warren, Godwin, Pitts. These first 8 guys, every single one of them I see as a value on the draft board. To some extent. I think the 2 running backs are extremely good to start. I think Neighbors is going to be good, but I wouldn't take him as my first wide receiver on my roster. Flowers will be safe. Stroud is going to be really good. I think in the middle of the 4th round is a little bit too early to take CJ Stroud. I will say that right now. And then obviously having Warren as your running back 3. I think Godwin's going to be good. You know how high I am on the Bucs offensive players this year. I think this is the year for Pitts, and then Lawrence as a backup is awesome. TJ Chamberlain goes A.J. Brown, Pacheco, Cook, Kincaid, Pickens, Spears. I mean, until we get to Kyler Murray, there is not a single guy on this team who I don't see as a massive value, and I mean massive value. I got Brown finishing inside my top 3 running backs. I think Pacheco can finish inside the top 3 running backs. Cook near in that top 5. Kincaid, tight end 1. Pickens, top 12. Spears, top 15 area. Williams, first hot take, finishing inside the top 5. Palmer, I think, could be really good. This is a really solid roster. CeeDee Lamb at the 106, I think, is a very good pick. Don't love Henry and don't love Laporta and don't love Lamar. Not a big fan of this 2 through 4 here. I am a fan of Laporta in the 3rd round for the sake of not loving the players that get drafted around him and not loving the receivers in that range. But as for the tight ends themselves, I think I would just rather get Kincaid or Ferguson a little bit later, who I think are in the same exact tier as Laporta. And no one's allowed to tell me that they're not in the same tier as Laporta, since I was the only one saying that Laporta was going to finish inside the top 10 tight ends last season. Drafted him in every league. Everyone was like, why in the world are you drafting Laporta? And I said, lock and loaded starter week 1. Finishes as the tight end 1 overall. And suddenly, I'm not so crazy after all. It's weird how that works. McConkey, Coleman, Dobbs are great picks. Chase Brown at the 9th round is a great pick. So he did recover a little bit after these 2 through 4 rounds, which I'm not a huge fan of. Don't need to analyze my team. Don't need to analyze an auto pick team. Jackson and Henry, a match made in heaven. That is a good point. I would love to talk about this. And I have a few scenarios and a few questions that people talk about with this all the time. And it's with stacking quarterbacks and running backs. We need to talk about this. Stacking quarterbacks and wide receivers or tight ends is elite because in order for the tight end to do good, the quarterback has to throw the ball to them. So you're getting a correlated assumption that if one player does good, both of them have to do good. So that is why stacking those is good. In contrary, if you are stacking a quarterback and running back, the chances are, unless that running back is catching regularly catching screens for touchdowns, only one of them is going to do good from a week-to-week basis, and you are limiting your upside by having a quarterback and a running back on the same team. So let's just look at Henry and Lamar, for example. If you get to the end zone, Henry's not going to be catching screen passes from Lamar Jackson. When you get to the end zone, only one of those guys is going to be doing good. When you're playing fantasy football, when you have in a 12-man league an 8% chance to win your league straight up, you need to be going for broke. And when I say that, it means you need to be playing for upside with every single draft pick from this perspective of I'm rooting for every single guy to score as much as possible. When your running back 1 and your QB 1 both can't score, you're eliminating upside from your own team. So while I do think both of them have the potential to have great seasons, they're not going to be able to have great games consistently together, if that makes sense. So do not, unless you're looking at like a deeper quarterback like Baker Mayfield and Rachaad White, then that's a better example. But when it comes to elite talents, you don't want to be taking quarterbacks and running backs on the same team. Not going to grade the auto pick team. Saquon Barkley, Josh Allen. So this is a 0 wide receiver build. We got a robust RB draft here. Barkley, Jacobs, White. I love the Jacobs and White picks. I don't love Barkley this year. I don't. Josh Allen's a great pick. Cooper Kupp, I think, will be safe, maybe. Deontay, I think, is a good pick. But Khalil Shakir as the wide receiver 3 just isn't going to cut it. It's not. And if you're going to go robust RB, Williams, Corum, and Vidal cannot be drafted. They can't be drafted. And George Kittle cannot be drafted either. If you don't take a wide receiver until the 5th round, you need to hammer wide receivers in the mid to late rounds. That's why in my drafts, like let's just, from a normal draft, not this draft, for example, if I want to take A.J. Brown in the 1st round, Chris Olave in the 2nd round, and Malik Neighbors or Josh Allen or someone like that in the 3rd round, and then my running backs go to James Cook in the 4th, Zamir White in the 5th, Tajay Spears in the 8th, and Jerome Ford in the 9th, or Zeke Elliott in the 9th. Then I'm hammering the position that I waited on early and covering the other position. That's what you have to do if you go for a 0 wide receiver or 0 running back build. Already graded this team. Holy smokes. I'm just going to leave it at that. Jamar Chase at the 111 I think is a great pick. Jonathan Taylor at the 2-3 turn, typical, I think is fine. Hurts is a great pick in the 3rd. Debo, as of now, if Ayuk doesn't play, is fine in the 4th. Mark Andrews, I hate in the 5th. Cooper's safe. Montgomery is safe. This is just, I think, the definition of a mediocre draft. Chase is great. Hurts is great. Cooper's great for the value. Taylor's fine. Debo's fine. Andrews is brutal. Montgomery is fine. So I'm not like bouncing off the walls excited for this team. This last team's intriguing. St. Brown and Wilson at the 1-2 turn. You're never really going to get that in a real draft, but an excellent start. Kamara and Walker at the 3-4 turn. 2 extremely safe running backs from a volume perspective. Love that. Devonta Smith as a wide receiver 3 is okay, but don't love him normally. Connor should be safe. I'm not worried about Trey Benson this year until Connor gets hurt, but I do think he will get hurt. Ingram's a volume play, but I think his volume's going to decrease. Higgins in the 8th round is a great value. So, that's a solid roster. I love the first 4 rounds, the way that they constructed that. That was very good. I tried to touch on every team there, but let's go ahead and zoom through the comments real quick. Real quick, if you guys have any other questions for me before we end this live stream, please do me a favor and drop them in the chat, and please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button before we jump on out of this draft. Wanted Stroud to stack with Diggs. Sorry, let me jump up a little bit higher. I took Brown since I feel like Lamb is going to hold out. Wanted Stroud and stack with Diggs. Yep. I think Stroud and Diggs are the receivers to stack. or is the combination to stack on the Texans this year. Not a fan of drafting Nico. Not a fan of drafting Dell. Always a good option to stack a quarterback and a wide receiver. You should have taken Ferguson instead of Love. Yep. You lose and you learn. That's all right. That's why it's a mock draft. Jackson and Henry match made in heaven. I think for real life football, yes, but I responded and discussed that previously. My logic with the Stroud pick was just that I have faith in Flowers falling to me. Just thought it would be the best available talent, which I thought was Stroud. Normally don't take QBs in the 4th round. Yes, and I understand that this draft is not a normal draft by any means, so that is perfectly fine. Thoughts on stacking Stroud with Tank? I think it negates Tank's expensive value as the wide receiver 3 option on that team, but I wouldn't bother drafting Tank even if I took Stroud because I think there are much better options that are much safer than Tank Dell. Thoughts on Sam Howell on the Seahawks? I don't know, you guys. Geno Smith looked like the second coming of Tom Brady at 40 years old a couple years ago, and now he just has turned back into a pumpkin. I think Geno is okay. I don't think Geno was terrible last year because of him, straight up. I think the Seahawks really struggled to put him in a good situation. And I think he really could be average or nearly average, so I don't think Sam Howell should see the field despite having a good preseason. Drew says he thinks he's going to take the job from Geno by week 6. That's his hot take. I have heard him say that, and I think it's plausible if they're not performing. Best drafted team in my opinion. Well, this is a cheap question because I know that you intentionally took every single one of my players. So I'm obviously going to say the 5th pick, TJ Chamberlain's team, is the best team. However, I'm not happy to say it because it should be my team. What number would I give each team? Okay. Sean, at the first pick, the quarterbacks things are messing with me, man. I would give you I think it's just an average team. And I think you normally draft better since I've seen a lot of your mocks, but given the amount of guys who listen to the same stuff that we do and have the same opinions, I think it's just like a 5 out of 10. Carl, I love this start to the draft. I'm going to give that team like a 7 or an 8. Hunter Houck, not a fan of this team. I give it like a 3. Drew reviews music, very solid start. Really solid all the way through. I think Neighbors as the wide receiver 1 is the one thing that scares me. But I give that team like an 8 out of 10 as well. TJ, you're getting a 9 out of 10 because I don't want to give you a 10 out of 10. I'm leaving it at that. Flores at the 6th pick. I think you recovered after those 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round picks, but I don't think they're terrible. CD at the 6th pick is a steal, assuming he plays. I give this draft like a 5 or 6 out of 10 as well. Don't need to grade myself. Don't need to grade the auto pick team. Fuller at the 9th pick went with the robust RB strategy. Don't love this team, but he went for a bold strategy. I'd give this like a 5 out of 10. I think he took a lot of the right guys given the situation. TJ Watt. That's your grade for your draft. Ethan Sleeps at 111. I think this is a very mediocre draft. I give it a 5. A lot of picks I don't like, but a few good values. And then the 12th pick, St. Brown, Wilson, Kamara, Walker. That team is solid to start off. I give that team like a 7 out of 10 too. Those are my rankings. Your hype for A.J. Brown has me hoping to get A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts at the 110 and 3-1. That would be a very, very good draft. If you could get those two to start and then someone safe and steady at the running back position, kind of right in that second round or the fourth round. If you can get a guy like White or Cook to fall to you in the fourth round, that would be huge. But there are very safe options like Jacobs or Kamara that you can fall back on as well in that fourth round at the running back position too. Thanks for streaming, bro. Good luck this season. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate all you guys coming on the stream, really. I do this for you guys. I do it because I love fantasy football, but I also do it because I love talking fantasy football and I love interacting with you guys. I obviously don't do it for money. I don't do it for clicks. I don't do it for views. I'm pretty sure I have like 12 views on this stream. So it's just dudes doing dude stuff, and I'm here for it. So I appreciate you saying that. I think we'll leave it at that. Let's give you guys a little bit of a preview for those still here for the content you can expect coming this week. I gave you a little bit of a sneak peek on a playoff prediction, my predictions for each division, records for each team. You can expect that in the next few weeks. I read my hot takes to you that I got. I'm going to try to get a hot takes video out as well. Didn't get to the top tight end videos quite yet. Top 10 tight end videos, excuse me. We'll see if I get around to that one. People naturally just don't care as much about tight ends. So probably won't get to those unless there's a strong draw or appeal for the tight ends. Would love to get a draft advice post out there on the YouTube where I can elaborate and talk things out a little bit more. I just did a quick tips with Power Football on my Instagram. So if you're looking for a few draft tips to take into your drafts this final week here preseason, go ahead and check that post out. But other than that, I mean, we are days away from football starting. If you guys got any one-on-one advice you want or need, I'm here. Go to my DMs on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram if you currently don't. Subscribe to this channel as well. I'll be full access to you guys before your drafts and before football season starts. And then I'll be back to school. I'll be back to college in about a week or so. And then my frequency of posting and fantasy content will be decreasing dramatically as I will continue to compete in my collegiate tennis career. For those of you that don't know, I recently, don't normally pat myself on the back, but recently just won the D3 doubles national championship, which was really cool and something I was not expecting to be able to do. So, not saying that to pat myself on the back, but just saying that I have a lot of things going on in my life, and when I decrease my frequency in posting, it's for a good reason. And I'm still playing a lot of tennis, still obviously getting an education, going to try to make a pro tennis career happen in the near future. So not too often a small town kid from the Midwest who talks fantasy football can make a pro doubles career in tennis and another sport, but we're going to see what we can do. So can't wait for football season to start. Appreciate you guys all coming on the live stream. If you're still watching, I appreciate you staying the full duration, and I'll see you guys in the DMs. I'll see you guys in the comments section on future videos. One last request, please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys real soon. Hope you all have a great rest of the weekend. Appreciate each and every one of you. Can't wait for football. September 5th couldn't come any sooner.